Thus begun their cat and mouse games with Pisang chasing Potkawi.
What a way to put it.
Hi, I'm Pao,
And I'm Simi, and this is C-Popcast,
a Southeast Asian pop culture podcast.
where we talk about all things pop culture from this part of the world.
So what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Be My Favorite,
Ooh.
which if you don't know is a new Thai series that recently aired.
I have the details right here. Thai TV, it aired on GMM25, and for us international fans, it aired on
YouTube.
from May 26th to August 11th.
And did you follow the series?
No, I did not. If I really like the show, I let it run its course for 75%,
Okay.
and then I binge it. So 3 episodes at a time.
To make it in time for you to
Yeah.
watch it as it ends.
Yes.
Okay. So I watched the first 8 episodes week after week, and then I got busy and I got distracted, but caught up in the end.
Good job, good job.
Thanks.
So Be My Favorite, in Thai, it's called Potkawi Kong Pisang, and it translates to Poem of Light Years.
Ooh, I did not know that.
I prefer the Thai.
I think they should have
title.
gone with that
They
instead of
should
Be
have,
My
right?
Favorite. Yeah.
It's also cool because those are the names of the 2 main characters.
Oh yeah, they are.
Potkawi and Pisang.
I did not know that there was
A
meaning to their names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
Because
YouTube.
typically they go with like nicknames, right?
yeah.
That sometimes don't really have much meaning.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what is Be My Favorite about?
The synopsis says, Potkawi has forever been in love with Permai. His love is forever changed when a musical crystal ball he bought as an important gift transports him back in time to the age of 18. Ooh.
It's a time travel show,
yes,
guys.
it's a time travel show. So everything turns upside down. Instead of fulfilling his hopes and setting things right with Permai, Potkawi somehow ends up in the arms of Pisang. Ah.
It's a BL.
It's a BL.
It's a time traveling BL.
Have there been?
I've not seen any.
I'm not sure. I have to recall my watch list
It's a
again.
niche genre.
It is a niche genre. For those who don't know, it's a Jitty Rain novel. Jitty Rain is a very famous yaoi
Novelist.
/ BL novelist from Thailand. She does a lot of the big favorites actually. So Together, Theory of Love, Fish Upon the Sky, vice versa. I don't know her actual books, but these 5, they're all Jitty Rain novels adapted by GMM TV.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've seen all of them except for
Theory of Love? No, have you seen Theory
No,
of
I've
Love?
seen Theory of Love. Vice versa.
Vice versa.
Yeah. And you've seen all.
No. I've not
No?
seen. Oh no, I have seen all.
You
Yeah,
have
yeah,
seen
yeah,
all
I
of
have
them.
seen all.
Yeah. We're fans.
We're big fans. I'm a big fan of Jitty Rain. I didn't care at first, and then I realized her shows and the way that GMM TV adapts them. I guess they're
Yeah.
very feel good. They're very cute.
They're lighthearted, but
Very
also have
lighthearted.
quite a lot of meaning, which is
Yeah.
nice. I think lately some GMM series haven't been as meaningful.
They're just there for the cute. They're
They're
there
just
for the
there.
cute.
Yeah, you just watch them and you're
Which
like,
is fine.
oh, cute.
It's-
Of course.
Yeah, I mean,
there's
like, if you
definitely
like
a place
just
for shows
fluff,
like this
this one I appreciate the fact that it's fluff, but
with meaning.
there's some meaning to it.
There's
It's
life
cute.
lessons.
Cute. To continue. Thus begun their cat and mouse games with Pisang chasing Potkawi.
What a way to put it.
So this is from my drama list, by the way. Old feelings for Permai, however, become a detriment to their blossoming romance. Enraged, Potkawi keeps twisting the crystal ball in an attempt to get rid of his desired results. Ooh. The show itself, I would say, it took interesting turns, but it wasn't complicated to follow.
Agreed.
Because
It's easy.
with time travel, you get confused which timeline you're at,
Yes.
which part are you in the past or the future, the present.
Yeah, but this show was actually pretty easy to follow. I think it would have been a much less enjoyable watch if the time travel was difficult to keep up with.
That's true. I like the mechanics of it. The main character, Potkawi, always has 2 timelines he references. The past is locked in place.
Yes.
He goes through it and he goes to the new future
Yes.
that was affected by his actions, but he can't go back to the original beginning.
Yes.
He has to continue from where he left off.
Yeah, so there's 2 periods of time,
Yeah.
which is when he's in
Uni.
college and when he's an adult.
So it's like he goes back in time. He lives, let's say, like a day. He
Right.
can't relive that day again. He just has to keep going and change from there. And then when he goes to the future, he realizes that what he did in like the past day or past week affected so much of that future. So then he has to change his actions from then on.
Yeah.
In the past. Sounds confusing, but it's actually
Our explanation makes it sound more
Yeah.
confusing than it actually is in the show.
watch the show.
Yes.
So what were your initial thoughts of it before it even aired? Were you excited to watch it? Did you see the concept trailer?
Okay, I did not see the concept trailer,
You did not
but
see the
I
concept
watched
trailer.
the actual trailer for the show, which was obviously just like a few days before.
Oh yeah,
The
okay,
actual
okay.
show
but
began.
you were following some news, I guess.
Yeah, so I knew that this show was happening and I was very excited
Mm.
because first of all, I don't think Gawin has ever been like
A
the
lead.
lead in any show.
I think the biggest he has been is so both Dark Blue Kiss and Not Me. He was a very important supporting cast, so he's like
Mm-hmm.
one of the side couples.
But he was not the lead. And like since watching Dark Blue Kiss, I've really wanted to see him in a lead role.
We are Go-In stands. I
We-
think.
we are.
We are.
And I was very excited about that
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, okay, it's been like 4 years.
Exactly.
I'm so glad that you finally get this
Dark
opportunity.
Blue Kiss was 4 years ago.
4 years
Oh my
ago,
gosh.
yeah.
And Not Me was it aired when we met, I'd say, but it started in December 2021.
So it's still quite a long time,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, and also for background, the concept of Be My Favorite was actually in GMM 2022. GMM 2022 is an announcement for all the projects and lineups they have for the year of 2022, which means they did it in 2021.
Right.
So Be My Favorite was supposed to be along the same, probably aired like around the same era as like Vice Versa, My School President, The Eclipse, yeah. But it aired this year because they were delayed because of casting changes. So it was
Okay.
supposed to be Paramai was still supposed to be played by Ai, and Goi was still supposed to be played by what's his name, Chris. But Pisang was supposed to be Mike. Do you remember Mike?
I know Mike.
Yeah, from Together.
Yes.
A Boss and a Babe.
Yeah.
He was the
He's another one that doesn't
Yeah.
get main
Yeah,
lead
no.
opportunities.
never.
So hopefully that happens.
Justice for
yeah,
Mike.
justice for Mike.
Justice for
like,
Mike.
Please, like this role was taken from him. Give him another one.
He's still in GMM, so hopefully they give him roles. If not, leave.
Yeah, another reason why I was also really excited for this is because it's a very different role from
Chris.
for Chris from what I know. So as I mentioned in a previous episode, Sotus was one of the hallmarks of the beginning of my journey with
That is true.
Thai shows.
Yeah.
So the image I have in my head of Chris is very different from the character he plays in Be My Favorite.
And I feel like it's already cemented. in
Yeah.
your-
It's
you're like,
really in my
Chris
head.
is Piatit.
Yes, he's serious, he's aggressive, he's like quite terrifying, like you don't want to mess with him. And then you watch the trailer for this show and
You're like, oh.
yeah, he's like fun, he seems like a nice person.
No, but he's also whiny.
Yeah, he's whiny, which I'll talk about later. So he's just so different. So that was cool. And I think for both of them alone, I knew I was going to watch the show and give it a chance.
Okay, interesting. For me, I was excited. I saw the concept trailer. And I was like, okay. I got more excited because, no offense to Mike, but I'm a bigger fan of Go In.
Of course,
So
yeah.
then I was like, oh, Go In. And then I think a part of it was that they got so much hate for it. I remember seeing like so many of the discussions having like Go In has had like 2 partners before this, and Chris has had Singto.
Yes.
So then everyone was like, no, I could never see them together. Not these two.
But that's what made it interesting,
It
is that
did,
you
it
would
did.
never put
Gawin
Gawin and
like,
Chris
you
together,
never.
but it actually kind
it
of
worked.
works.
I
Yeah.
liked it. So when I saw the actual recasting and then all the lead ups, so any like filming pictures, I was like, oh, actually, I'm kind of excited for it.
Yeah.
And one of the big draws for me, which I know you think so differently, is the theme song.
Okay.
Have you seen the music video for it?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, so you don't remember.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
okay. So I really like the theme song,
Okay.
but you've only seen the theme song in the
show.
in the show. I've
Yes.
seen the actual MV and them being cute in it.
So maybe that's the difference.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think the theme song sounds like a news broadcast like theme. And this is like no hate to everyone. It just has like a, I don't know, it's got that vibe.
It's very booming.
It is very booming.
I didn't see that because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like the instrumentals. It has like kind of like there's like a xylophone kind of like tune at the
Yes.
back, and then they pair it with a lot of cute synths.
The instrumental in the show is not bad, I
Yeah,
will
yeah,
say.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's only a lot when you actually hear the theme song
Also,
in the show.
Chris is like just projecting.
projecting. He
Yeah.
really is, yeah.
But I was already gonna watch it because Go In,
Mm-hmm.
and then I saw the theme song. And I was like, actually, this is really cute.
And
I,
you were sold.
I was basically sold. It wasn't the top of my list,
Yeah.
but it weirdly ended up beating expectations after watching it.
Okay.
Weirdly,
So you were impressed.
I was impressed.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on it?
I liked how light-hearted the show was. I think there was a really nice vibe to it where it wasn't overly emotional, it wasn't
true,
overly
true.
complicated, but there's still depth to the story.
That's true.
Which
That's very
I
true.
thought was great, and I think that was really well done.
Personally, I'm kind of biased towards these kind of shows, so it's like the vibe kind of forgives a lot of the shortcomings of it. So when I watched it, it just made me feel really good.
The show is very much up your alley.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
much up my alley. I like just easy, not so much drama.
I think the development of their relationship was quite nice as well. Okay, so for context,
Yes.
like Pisang, I guess, falls first.
Yes.
Put it-
Yeah. He fell first.
Yeah, he fell first, and it takes a much longer for
Kawi.
Kawi to be interested. I want to say I felt like the progression of Kawi's
Kawi's
feelings
feelings
could have been done a bit better.
I feel like it was too rushed.
It was rushed
Yeah.
because it felt like in one episode he was still kind of grappling with it, and in the next episode he's like,
like,
okay,
"Oh,
yeah, I
no."
like him. We just said that the time jumps were not complicated, and they weren't, but they could have been maybe
Smoother,
slight-
smoother,
Yeah,
smoother.
smoother. I think
Smoother.
is the word for it.
I think it also had to do with some pacings of the show.
I totally agree.
Where the time skips, they didn't explicitly say how long a time skip was. Say it's been a week.
Right.
Versus it's been a day.
Yeah.
You can develop feelings in a week. A day is a bit.
A day's a bit much, yeah. Which is how it felt sometimes,
Yeah.
and that's why I think it's just the pacing.
Yeah, so it's like the pacing in the past at least could have been much better, but it was still easy to follow.
yeah. It's not a complicated show.
Not at
by
all.
any means.
Only Friends is complicated. Okay, sorry, it's not about Only Friends. We can talk about that.
We'll talk about that
another
another
episode.
point. Yeah. I would
Um,
love to talk about OnlyFriends. I already have thoughts. Okay, so what did you like about the show?
Like I said, overall, love the vibe. Made me feel very like warm inside, and it was very consistent throughout. It didn't really dip or anything.
Yes.
It had a very good consistent feel to it. Sometimes shows like they'll feel nice, and then after a while
They
okay,
kind of lose it at a certain
Yeah.
point, but this show was pretty consistent.
very
I
consistent. I really like the soundtrack because a lot of GMM shows
Mm-hmm.
they'll use the songs, but they'll adapt it to like background music. So the way that they used that
agree. Was quite nice.
it lifted the atmosphere even more, I would say.
Agreed.
So I really like that. The cinematography and the color. Ooh.
You liked that?
I really like the fact that it was because it's about time travel and reminiscing about the past or
Yeah.
trying to change the past. It had a very overall sepia vibe to it. Did you not
Yes, that's
realize
true.
that?
Yes.
It was like slightly on the warmer tinge.
Compared to other GMM shows that we watched.
The saturation was perfect. The vibrance was perfect. It was
Yes.
it was just nice to watch. So even if you didn't know what the hell was happening, you'd look at it and be like, oh, that's very pleasant to the
Yes.
eyes. And then even like the intro, not talking about the song, but the intro, what do you call it, sequence. The title sequence was, it looked like you're looking at a crystal ball.
Yes.
And it had like a fade, but not really. And then it had nice like purple and red colors, kind of like you're looking through a kaleidoscope. Also,
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that there was a lot of effort to keep with the theme
Yeah.
of the series.
a lot of good motifs.
Yeah, like a lot of thought was obviously put into that. And I think that's why it's also very consistent and always like, okay, it's a time traveling BL, and they incorporated that into even the cinematography, like you said.
So I like the cinematography, those vibes, all that packaged, made for just great vibes. I know I said vibes so many times, but really good vibes because you just feel
Yeah,
warm.
it's a very feel good show,
Yeah.
even visually, along with the storyline.
That's true. I would say another thing is, surprisingly, the Go-In Chris chemistry really kind of kept the show going, honestly.
It did.
Even at the parts where you're like, okay, it's just them being cute.
Yes.
And enough to be like, I just watched this for like a whole episode.
After, I want to say like episode 8 or 9, the series kind of slows down a little bit.
That's because that's when they got together.
Yes, which is when they get together.
Which is
and
every show I've realized.
It is every show. And sometimes it's enough to make me not want to continue watching the show. But this time it kind of slowed down. And I think it was not as bad because the chemistry between them was actually pretty good.
The chemistry and then the way that they played their characters was very just playful, nothing serious.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were fun to watch.
It was cute. It was super cute. Basically, that's my whole thoughts about it. It's just
It's
super cute. But like, okay, it's super cute, but it ended up becoming my favorite show of the summer, surprisingly. And I watched a bunch. This was my favorite show of the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What was it about this show that you think the other shows you've watched just couldn't match up to?
I'd say consistency. So I watched the main ones I remember were A Boss and a Babe,
Yeah.
UMG,
Yeah.
and those two they would just like drop off after like episode 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, what's happening now?
I
So-
tried watching A Boss and a Babe, and I get that a lot of people enjoyed it, and I
It's just Force Book being cute.
yeah. So I watched like 6 episodes of it, and I felt like I'd watched the show
Yeah,
basically.
essentially.
I don't think missing out on the last 6 episodes was really me missing out on anything, because
Yeah.
yeah, I've
I
already
finished
seen
it.
them. I've seen their chemistry. I'm like, okay, they're cute. They can act. They
very
like it
true.
works. It's enough.
Yeah, I finished the show, and the reason why this versus Be My Favorite was like off was because there's a lot of like plot holes that they just left, and then they were like, okay, we're not gonna like touch on this at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Be My Favorite actually like at least tried to like they covered it up nice. They put
Yeah.
a cute little band-aid on it. The other one they just left the hole open there. Like
yeah,
wait,
I'm sure that there are definitely plot lines that were left unaddressed in Be My Favorite, but they're not as noticeable.
yes,
And you don't end the show thinking about the missed
that's so true.
plot lines.
You're like, oh, okay. You're just like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess that's how it is. That's cute.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You know.
I would say my last strength would be the life lessons and morals that you learn from this show. I like the fact that, as we said, this wasn't just a cute show. You actually learned some parts of it.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of the lessons are cliche,
Yeah.
but a lot of them, even though they're cliche, they're told in a nice way.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think if you're a younger person, like if you're a young adult or even like a teenager, I feel like this series would actually be quite meaningful in the way that it depicts life and how, you can go back in time like an endless number of times, and it doesn't mean that everything's gonna work out.
That's true. It teaches a good lesson of just like, you can't control everything.
Yes.
So might as well just embrace it as it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of emphasis on learning to understand yourself, accept yourself, which was quite nice, I think, in the way that it was done, like for Bisang.
That's
Yeah.
very true. That's very true.
It's like subtle, and I feel like they weren't as overtly like, you need to know who you are and you need to
That's true.
embrace it, but it was more like just be open to, yourself, and
That's
just-
true. GMM's trying to be the most woke, I've
Yes,
realized.
they really are
So
trying.
then like pride and marriage equality.
Yes.
But I've realized in a lot of shows that they did, it's a bit jarring. But this one was actually, it fit the theme of like self-discovery. Because
Yeah.
both characters get it. Usually only one character has to do
Yes.
it. This one, both characters get some kind of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the fact that they kind of just showed Pisang being vulnerable. The coming out process is
Yep.
just grueling, and it had some parts that were very like, it's okay, you don't have to be alone. And the last lesson that I want to talk about is, as we remember, Koei is a 30-year-old man who had to like go back in time to his uni body essentially.
He's 30?
Yeah, it's 12 years in the future. It's just 32 actually. Oh no, he's 18, so then yeah, 30. He's 30.
Oh.
Yeah. It's in 2014, 2015, and then suddenly you're in 2026.
Right. Okay.
Or something
Makes
like
sense.
that.
Makes sense.
Koei is like 30, trapped in his like 18-year-old body, and then he knows that his dad passes away within the uni days. He knows when and
Yes.
how. So this concept of time traveling is not only is it to just like get with his like uni crush, but it's
Yes.
also like spend time with his dad and hopefully like to like save his life essentially, because his dad is his only family.
Yes.
So we know this if you watch the first episode, we know this in like the first 10 minutes. What I liked about it was that one of the lessons that you learn is that you can't control and you can't dictate fate. You can't dictate
Yes.
everything. It's all about, instead of trying to control the situation,
Yeah.
cherish it as it is now.
Yeah.
Very bittersweet, but also very cute.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I really think it's quite a meaningful show to watch, especially
yeah.
if you're like a bit younger.
And if it's like your first intro into Thai shows and BLs,
I think it's a good
So either-
start.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good start.
it's a good start.
Better than ours.
Trauma. I don't want to think about it.
We've come so far.
So far. Oh, this one had consent, didn't it?
Yes,
It
there
did?
was
There was
consent in this
consent.
show. So
He was so cute. He was like, if you don't want to take it so far, we don't have to take it so far.
Yeah.
Also, there's a time where they were like, I think they were making out. At that point, one of them was like yearning for him already. Another one was drunk, so he didn't know what he was doing. But then the minute one of them fell asleep and passed out, he just stopped. He was like, oh, this isn't right. I was like,
yeah.
yes, that's how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah. It's sad that the bar is so low,
I
but
know.
we have to celebrate the small steps.
The wins, the small wins.
Yes.
So I like the fact that there was self-control, and not everyone is just a dick. There's one dick in the show, and that shows he's a great actor because I want to punch his face.
Yep. There is a college mate friend.
College-
I don't
yeah,
even want to
college
say
mate.
friend. Yeah.
He's their friend by association because everyone's like, oh, he's in the friend group. But
Yeah. But
everyone hates him.
yeah.
So
Which brings us
to
to
the-
the side characters.
Side characters or just improvements in general?
Yeah, improvements in general.
Because the side
so
characters
while we
for
do
the-
like Be My Favorite, it's by no means a perfect show. There are definitely some shortcomings, points of improvement.
What do you want to improve about the show?
Okay, so one of my main gripes with the show is probably that the secondary characters were not as developed as they should have been.
Okay.
Given that there's actually quite a fair number of them.
It's a big cast, and
Yes.
they had quite a lot of screen time for secondary characters, actually.
Like, given that Pear is
The main love interest.
yes, she's Kawi's main love interest for a substantial portion of the
Well,
series.
no, we think.
Well,
Like, he thinks
he
she-
thinks she is, but
We know it's gonna be.
yes, we know it's gonna
gonna
be
be-
Pisang,
yeah.
but you know, for a while it is.
He was chasing after her
Yes.
for until 6 episodes.
Yeah, so like midway through the show, and
Yeah.
even beyond that, she still gets a decent amount of screen time. She has her own issues. She also appears when, you know, they time travel back to the future. She's got like parental issues and stuff. But by the end of the show, I was so indifferent to her. I didn't
Yeah.
love her. I didn't necessarily care about her. I was like, okay, she's a nice person.
she had a
but-
happy ending, but her happy ending was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You're married. Yay. Oh, sorry. I mean, yeah, she gets married to someone else. That's not.
Yeah, they have to end up together.
Yeah.
So of course it's to neither of them. But the point is like there was a lot of potential to develop the secondary characters, and I feel like they wasted that opportunity.
I guess I agree because I didn't really get to know some of the friend groups.
Like Kawi's friend.
Max.
Yeah.
At first, there was like a mystery, I would say, because like, you didn't know who he was. He kind of just appeared in the third episode.
Yeah.
And then he ended up being an important kind of like awakening for Pisang because they meet in like a gay bar.
Yes.
We know from the alternate timeline that Gowi and Max kind of had a falling out.
Yes.
So that Gowi wants to fix it. And then he ends up being a crucial part of the series.
Yes.
But by midway, he just ended up becoming like Gowi's conscience on the
Yeah.
side, which I was like, okay, wow. I wanted to know like what's his backstory, why he wanted to leave college.
that
There's
was never
no-
really
no.
addressed properly, and I think he's a really good example of a character that was just reduced to fueling the main narrative.
Yeah,
which
he
is
was the
just-
conscience. He was the
yeah,
conscience. He was Gowi's
precisely,
conscience.
which is disappointing, I think, because they, again, like we said, had enough screen time, were important enough to these characters' lives, and yet didn't really have their own narrative, didn't have their own arc,
Agreed.
which
Yeah.
is, in my opinion, a wasted opportunity.
Very wasted, very
Yeah.
wasted. Oh, I wanted to get to know what's her name? The Paris best friend?
Oh yeah,
What's her name?
I don't remember, but
Because she had this thing where she really like a bully character, like one of the not the main antagonist, because the main antagonist is not a
it's
person.
not. Yeah,
It's like yourself or
it's
or
life.
life. It's
It's
life.
life.
But for this one, it's like he was kind of like a catalyst for a lot of decisions, essentially, because of him being a dick.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know why she had a thing for him. Like why was she?
Yeah, and they never addressed it, and I
Yeah.
felt like I kept waiting for these questions to be addressed, and they never were.
Or like they did, but it just because they did poorly.
Yeah.
Because apparently he was a really cool, well-read person, which we didn't.
Which was never visible. Yeah. So
It,
yeah.
it was, but then it was like he recommended them what books to read, and then he becomes a good best-selling novelist, but still
that's
a dick.
his character arc.
Yeah. Okay. What I do like with the main bully character was the fact that not everyone gets a happy ending.
I guess that was good. I was waiting for character growth and they didn't really have that.
They didn't, but then I kind of concluded that as like, not everyone can change.
Yeah, I guess they didn't go the idealistic route.
Yeah. They went with like, not everyone's perfect and not everyone wants to change themselves. So then
yeah, some
that's their
terrible
fault.
people you went to school with will stay terrible
And
forever.
that's on them.
That's life.
That's on them. That's how I read it.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another improvement, which is a major spoiler, if you had not watched until I think episode 5, 6 maybe,
Yeah.
or 7, you would know that Gawi told Pisang that he was from the future.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, is this news you want to tell someone?
Yeah. And beyond that, it was done in a really
Poor.
rushed way. And Pisang did not question
Yeah,
that
he was just
revelation
like-
enough. Given that this show technically should be taking place in our world, if somebody came up to me and said, I'm from the future.
I would be like, fuck off. No.
Yeah.
Or like, ha ha ha, funny, funny, funny.
Yeah, and if you really had evidence that you were from the future, I don't think I would be quiet about it, firstly. I think I would still be extremely shocked.
He was
And-
shocked, but he just kind of took it like, huh? Okay.
Yeah, it was addressed really quickly, and it was weird. That was kind of a weakness for me.
He tried to save it in like episode 11 when he said, when you first said it, I didn't believe you. But then when he did time travel himself, he was like,
Yeah.
oh, now I believe you.
There was no point initially or prior to that where he was questioning it.
Yeah.
He never seems doubtful. You don't see him frantically Google searching
Yeah. No.
whether time travel is real.
The minute that happened, I feel like the show should have taken a different turn. Like,
Is time travel real? Yeah.
yeah, no, this one was just like, oh, okay, maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, but they are not supposed to be existing in a world where time travel
could
is
exist.
possible. So the fact that he is time traveling
Yeah.
should be quite alarming.
Yeah. So he should have said anything.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that the show was going to go down the route of him never revealing
Yeah.
that he's a time traveler.
When Pisang himself time travels,
Yeah.
he should have been like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It should have been his own kind of like,
Yeah, he seemed way too easygoing about it.
like he said, oh, I didn't believe you at first.
It was an unrealistic level of easygoing.
Okay, yeah. So how about like we just like summarize it? If people just skip to like this point of our talk, what do you want to like say? Like final thoughts?
I would say if you want to watch a light-hearted show that still has some depth to its storyline, Be My Favorite is a pretty decent option.
That's very true.
I will say I don't think I'm ever gonna watch this show again.
Okay,
I think the rewatch value isn't,
that's very low.
for me at least, it's quite
okay.
low. But yeah, I mean, it's not a waste of time. It's not mindless.
Yeah, it's not mindless at all. My rewatch value is just a bit higher, but it's gonna be like one of those rewatches I don't pay that much attention to. Working from home.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be in the background, and I'm gonna be like, I remember this scene. Oh, this is a
Yep.
cute scene. I did realize that even when watching it, I wasn't so attentive.
It's not the most gripping
No.
show you'll ever watch.
But it is just cute fluff. So if you like cute fluff, is what I'm saying.
yes, then
Watch
this is
this.
probably a show for you.
It was
I
my-
think if you generally like the GMM kind of cute, not super intense shows, this is probably a good one.
It's one of the best ones actually because it's
Yeah.
the most evolved out of the GMM shows. The GMM TV shows had used to be very like just no depth
Yeah.
and just all fluff, and you're just like, Jesus Christ. Have you seen I'm Team Me Too?
No.
You like
Maybe
it?
we should.
You watch it because you like Chris saying "Off Contain You." You don't watch it
Yes.
because it was so gripping. So, but this one, even if you don't like Gawin Chris,
Yeah, I think there's still it still has a decent amount to offer.
I like the value. I like the cinematography.
Yes.
And overall, vibes. Just felt so nice to watch.
I would definitely watch a Gawin Chris show again.
Ooh,
I hope
would.
Gawin gets more
Can
lead
we?
roles.
Yes. I think that is the main takeaway from this.
Is Gawin
Give
needs
Gawin more lead roles because
Yes.
he can pull it off.
Yeah. And I think it's also give Chris more a wider range of roles.
He can pull it off
He can.
because I've seen him in. I'm currently watching Sotis.
Mm-hmm.
I have watched Good Old Days.
Yeah.
You know, like another reminiscing kind of
Yes.
one. And I guess I've seen him in other like small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he's very good. He's a
He
very
is, yeah.
very good actor. He's weirdly polarizing because of what he has said or like some controversy, but I feel like
Mhm.
it's been blown over. I think it was misunderstood because at that point in time, it was sadly normal to call straight people normal and gay people not. If people called him gay, he'd get a bit touchy on that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys were like, "I'm not gay."
Yeah.
like-
I think the wider lesson here is to not speculate on people's sexuality.
That's true also.
I think that's the bigger takeaway.
So people were pushing onto him
Mm-hmm.
too much.
Yeah.
And then I think at one point he was just like, "Oh my god,"
Mm-hmm.
which is like he could be gay. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. Who
Yeah.
cares? That's the point.
It shouldn't matter.
He plays really good roles that teach a lot of people lessons.
Yeah.
Something similar happened with the Kit Connor thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
where he was basically forced to come out because
Yeah.
everyone was just,
If he wasn't queer, how dare he? But if he was queer,
why are you not saying that you
Yeah.
are?
so it's like,
Yeah.
but like that's his private life.
Correct.
Chris is like my age or maybe a year younger, so he was quite young when the whole
Mm-hmm.
when was this like pandemic or even before?
I don't even remember now.
It was a while ago, so he was
Yeah.
quite young, and Kit Connor's quite young, so
Mm-hmm.
essentially it's the artist being not skilled enough to deal with these things that they
Yeah.
like, but it's also because the fans can get very
Yeah.
overbearing. Yeah, so that's our review for Be My Favorite. I'd say give the show a watch.
Yeah.
Even if you don't feel like it, I'd say like give it a chance.
Yeah.
Give it a chance if one day you have nothing on your watch list.
Yeah.
Watch this.
It's no I Told Sunset About You,
Oh
but
no,
it's still worth watching.
definitely. So thank you for watching this episode of.
See Popcast.
Follow us on socials.
We have Instagram,
Instagram,
we have TikTok, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We will try to be on all the podcast platforms. So there's Spotify for a podcast. There's YouTube and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Maybe Google Podcasts. I'm sure we'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.